Now, NTINI has been one of the most useless witnesses in this court because he remembers jack shit. The judge likes saying that he listens, but does he actually listen? Who verified Mangena's negative results on Chico's gun? We would love to know. And I was like, drops mic, we're done. He basically then asked the judge, Ungenapi. She's pointing out that she works on cases on a daily basis. It's as if her mind is sharper than Dave's. Like, really? Very impressive, very demure, very cutesy.
And I'm bad like the Barbie. I'm a doll, but I still wanna party. Things felt like I'm ready to bend. I'm a 10, so I pull in a 10. Like, Daddy,
Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mngomezulu, also known as Kwazibe on all social media platforms. Do subscribe, be a part of this family, and if you are returning Sabi, welcome back, darling. Now guys, as you know, every week I bring you updates in the Senzo Meyiwa Trial, so today I'm here to do exactly that. Before we get into the video, kindly like this video, comment down below, and engage with me so that I reach a greater audience, or my video is recommended to other users on the YouTube app. And also super thanks if you can. Let's get right into this week's proceedings. This week was a short week in court because, as you know, we were expecting two new witnesses, NTINI and Grobler, who were the people who allegedly confirmed Mangena's results, and we were expecting them on Wednesday, the 18th of September, because they were said to have been attending courts on Monday and Tuesday. And the surprising thing about this is that they were not available Monday and Tuesday because they were in court. But when they asked during cross-examination when was the last time they went to courts to give evidence, they say July, August. So what were they doing on Monday and Tuesday? The first witness to be called on Wednesday was Grobler, whom we know as Phil Yoon. Phil Yoon was her maiden surname. She has since gotten married, and so her new surname is Grobler. So basically the evidence that she does give, or that she's led on, is the fact that yes, she indeed did give an opinion to Mangena. And it's so funny how all of these witnesses now are coming with this word opinion, when all along we've known them as being reviewers or confirmers of Mangena's reports. There wasn't much in the leading of this witness, just except for just clarifying her experience as well as her qualifications and all of that. And the one thing that I found interesting about her testimony is the fact that she didn't document anything. So all the report that she did, or all the opinions that she gave on Mangena's test, she didn't document anything. She has nothing written, which means she doesn't remember the dates, she doesn't remember the time, she doesn't remember the bullets, the numbers, she doesn't remember the types of bullets she tested. And when she's asked, then how did you know about the information with regards to this test? And she says that Mangena is the one that told her, which is surprising because Mangena tells her that I came to you before I went to Sereo. I came to you on the 22nd. She doesn't remember this because it wasn't documented anywhere, but yet she comes to court and tells us that she did this on the 22nd. How sure are we that it was actually the 22nd? Mngomezulu's cross-examination commenced on Wednesday, and his cross-examination was short and quick but left the witness frozen. One of the questions that he did ask this witness is, have you ever disputed Mangena's test? And she says she can't recall. Now it's funny because if you've ever disagreed with a person, even though you might not remember the details of the case, you sure will remember that you disagreed with this person. But she does not remember, but also says the possibility does exist. Just with the 5 questions Mngomezulu asked the witness, it was clear that this witness cannot be trusted, or nothing can come from her. She can't tell whether she's disagreed with Mangena before. So like, what else can we ask you? Literally, what else can you be asked? Ramasipili then comments with his cross-examination, and I must say I have been thoroughly impressed with Ramasipili's line of cross-examination over the past couple of witnesses. Very impressive, very demure, very cutesy. So with Ramasipili's cross-examination, he touches on the issues of the class characteristics, the individual characteristics, as well as the subclass characteristics on the exhibits and the test. And he also then shares Dave's version, which says he got an inconclusive result, and because there were sufficient class characteristics but not enough individual characteristics to give a positive outcome in this result. And then the witness Grobler then says, well, I don't know how he came to that conclusion, because we work on cases every day and I've worked on over 6,000 cases, as if to allude to the fact that Dave is not qualified enough to give a report on this. And Ramasipili then points out that actually Dave has also worked on over 6,000 cases, and what he does on a daily basis, that will be something that he will come and testify about. I will not talk on his behalf. He'll come to court and he'll be able to tell the court what he does on a daily basis. So the fact that she's pointing out that she works on cases on a daily basis, it's as if her mind is sharper than Dave's. Like, really? Now, the surprising thing in this moment is that the judge is asking questions that he should have kept at the end of everyone cross-examining, but he does take this opportunity whilst they're speaking about Dave to ask the witness if she knows Dave, firstly, and also when Dave left, what was his position? Which was an interesting question, because for me, it's giving, he wants to find out at what level Dave was when he left the police service. And the witness then says, you know, she joined the police in the year 2000, and she worked with Dave right through up until 2015 when he left. And she does point out that Dave was a lieutenant colonel at the time that he left the police service. Nisi then commenced his cross-examination on Wednesday, and one of the issues that he touched most on is the issue of the gun and it being handled in a way that is not within the procedure. And this witness does point out that this case is extraordinary, and because of some circumstances, things don't actually always go according to plan. Now, the funny thing about this case is everything seems to not have been done the way that it should have. Everything has circumstances. Everything has, I don't know what the circumstances was. I don't know, it was an extraordinary what was. I don't know what led to that. Why is it that that is the case just in this case? Very surprising. Now, another very important question that Mnisi asked is with regards to the 212 statement. So he asked the witness, why is it that you gave a 212 statement? And she says she did this at the instruction of Advocate Baloyi. Now, Mnisi questions that Baloyi is not from the forensic department. You know, only the courts can request a person to give a 212 statement. And then the judge says the 212 statement is a legal document and all of that. And Nisi's like, what is the basis of you raising that? Because that's not what my question was to this witness. Nisi then points out to the judge that this witness has already said that it is not normal what has happened. It's not normal for her to write a 212 statement, considering the fact that she didn't sign a report. She only gave an opinion. So he basically then asked the judge, literally asked the judge, where do you enter coming in telling me that the 212 statement is a legal document? Excuse me, that was for the witness to answer and not for the judge. Now, because of the fact that all these witnesses have come here and they're telling us that they gave an opinion, Mnisi then says, I'd like to read the definition of an opinion. And he basically takes out a dictionary, and the definition of opinion says it is based on grounds that are short of proof. Now, there's no way that all these people gave an opinion, because an opinion doesn't have any proof. They literally took the exhibits and the test bullets and they tested them, which means they have proof, which means it's no longer a what? An opinion. It's now a confirmation. Nisi then asked this witness, so now do you agree that this was actually an analysis? You actually analyzed Mangena's work? And she says yes. And then Nisi then goes on to say, Mangena told this court that you confirmed his results, and there was an objection from Sibanda, and Nisi says no, we'll go to the record. And the judge then says, do you have the record with you, asking Usbanda, and Sibanda says no. Then Nisi is like, no, I'll go to the record, and quotes what Mangena said before this court with regards to the confirmation of Philyun, Fisa, NTINI, and Sereo. Now, at this point, the judge then says to Mnisi, no, but this witness is saying that she gave an opinion. He even goes as far as saying, what do you do when you give an opinion? Asking the witness to reply. And Mnisi says, there's no way that the judge can say this witness is right and I'm also right when we are not on the same page. We cannot both be right. So let us go into the record. I will not be sidetracked by the court. Let's go to the record and listen to what Mangena told the court. So now the judge didn't want Mnisi to go to the record. He knows very well what Mangena said. He knows very well that Mangena said these people confirmed, not gave an opinion. So Mnisi goes onto the record and he starts reading. He starts reading the record where Mangena says these people confirmed his results. And then Mnisi then says to the witness, so you see that by confirming his results, you should have been a Sereo, signing the report off and saying, yes, you did test the results and you did get a positive, and the process should have stopped there with you. No need for him to go to NTINI, no need for him to go to versus Fisa, no need for him to go to Sereo. You should have been the Sereo signing off, and she does agree to this. And then he goes into the issues of the pattern matching and the CMS and concludes his cross-examination for the day. Those were the proceedings for Wednesday. On Thursday, Mnisi continued with his cross-examination of Grobler, and there was a question that he asked with regards to the indentation on the bullets that she tested, and the witness does not remember any indentation. She doesn't remember anything. She doesn't remember any details of the bullets. And Mnisi then requests her to explain how the CMS process works with regards to testing. She does then answer and say that in 3D, you need 2 sets of 3 striations or 1 set of 6. And then in 2D, you need 2 sets of 5 striations or 1 set of 10. And then Mnisi takes it up a notch, which was a drop mic moment in his cross-examination, because he says, okay, now this is just a scenario. When we speak about CMS, we're talking about continuous matching stria, is that correct? And she says yes. Now this is an example that Nisi gave the witness and says, so if a student is counting the stria using the CMS method, and on the first striation on the test bullet as well as the exhibit, the line goes right through, and then on the second line on the test bullet, the line is there but it does not appear on the exhibit bullet, and then on the third one the line appears again on both. How do you actually go on counting those striations? And the witness then says, well, you would count 1, and then when you get to 2 and there's a break, because there is a break there, then you wouldn't continue and say 2, 3. Then when you get to number 3, you start again at 1, which is completely opposite to what Mangena says. So Mnisi then says, so if the student then continues to count and says 1, 2, 3, although there's a break, is that the correct procedure? And she says no, that's not how the CMS process works. And that for me was a defining moment in Mangena's in Grobler's cross-examination, because she clearly said what Mangena did to make a positive in this test was wrong. And then Mnisi then tells the witness, I'm not going to tell you who the student is. That is for me to argue during the arguments. And he was done with his cross-examination. I was like, drops mic, we're done. Mngomezulu had no cross-examination for this witness. Mshololo took over and did her cross-examination. There wasn't much in Mshololo's cross-examination. It was literally a repetition of what Mnisi had already touched on, except for the point where she says, with regards to recording when you give an opinion, is there procedure that says you shouldn't record, or is that just something that you do? And she says, no, there isn't a document that actually says that. There was re-examination by Usibanda, which was very repetitive. And then after that, Ugrobla was done with her cross-examination, and a new witness was called to the stand, who was Captain NTINI, who also confirmed Mangena's results. Now, there was a bit of a disagreement when NTINI came to the stand, because he wanted to bring through a new exhibit to the court, and this exhibit being a logbook for a vehicle that was used to travel to the crime scene on the 27th. Now, the funny thing about this particular new exhibit is that it is a copy. So the defense did request the original document, and the original document was not given to the defense. And the judge then made a ruling that the state can continue leading its case with regards to this exhibit. However, if the original is not received, then that information will be expunged from the record. When the judge made this ruling is with the anticipation that the original would come after lunchtime. So the witness was led based on exhibit 000, which was the original statement that he made. And then it was said that after the break, the original will come, and then they'll be able to lead him on the 0001, which is the logbook. Now, after the lunch, when the defense was expecting the original did not come. When questioning the state about this, they say, no, they sent another copy. So now we're sitting in court with two copies. Now, the first copy, being exhibit 0001, is just a single page document that contains particularly the 27th of October in 2014. Now, when they bring in the other copy, it's the whole month of October. So basically, 0001 is now an extract from 0002, and the judge then says, oh no, now this is two completely different documents. How is it two completely different documents? Because this one is an extraction from this one. So it's the same document, it's just that this one has additional information. They then continue leading the witness, and the funny thing about Sibanda leading this witness, from what I picked up, is the fact that he was leading this witness based on all the questions that the defense asked Ugrobla during cross-examination. So every single, like literally 90% of the questions that Usibanda posed to the witness during his evidence in chief, he took from the questions from the defense, which was hilarious to me. But during his testimony, Mngomezulu picks up that the witness seems to be reading from a particular document. And when Mngomezulu raises this concern, the judge then says, oh, that's not his affidavit. I can see it from here. It's his affidavit. I'm like, the judge really needs to sit down. Sibanda finishes leading the witness, and the cross-examination was meant to start on Thursday. However, Mngomezulu then requested that we adjourn because there was only 30 minutes left in the day. However, Sibanda today for some reason says, we can make a lot of progress with the 30 minutes that's left, and expects the defense to stop cross-examining, even though he knows very well that the defense still doesn't have the originals for the document that he's led this witness on. So when Mngomezulu says he is unable to continue, the judge then asks Mngomezulu if he's ready, and Mngomezulu says no, he's not ready. The judge asks Mshololo if she's ready, and her response is that no, but I cannot be expected to be ready when I've been ambushed by this court. And the judge says, ambushed by who? This court. Mshololo says, we've been ambushed. This information was given to us now. Now we're expected to cross-examine this witness based on information that we have not verified, which is not fair. And then the judge says, no, but I quoted a case with 5 judges. I quoted a case with 5 judges. It's not me that said this. It's the 5 judges. And Mshololo says, I don't care whether it's 5 or 6 judges. We were ambushed. And the judge was livid. That concluded the proceedings for Thursday, and on Friday the 20th of September, then the state then brings this exhibit 0002, and still there is no original. And when he's questioned where the original of this document is, he just says, no, it can't be found, they're still looking for it. How is it that you're able to bring a copy? Because a copy comes from the original. So why are they looking for the original when the copy was so quick to come into court? Now, with them bringing this 0002 exhibit, Mngomezulu then points out that the court had made a provisional order with regards to this document, and the judge says, no, the order that I made was within regards to 0001, not 0002. And I'm just like, this is the same document. Why is he trying to run away from expunging this information if this original doesn't come? Because it's one and the same document. And the defense basically just fights this and says, no, the only way we're going to be able to continue is if this person, is if the judge actually rules that this is provisionally accepted until the original actually comes. So he does make the same ruling. Before Mngomezulu commences with his cross-examination, Mnisi addressed the court with the issues of accused number 3, Tobisi Ncube, where he says that he's been kept in solitary confinement for the past 4 years, and he hasn't been given the reason as to why he's been kept there. At first, he was told it was because of the Senzo Meyiwa case, and the sad thing about this is that they're keeping him under there when he hasn't been found guilty of anything in this case. And the judge did call some officers from the correctional services in May to address this issue of him being in solitary confinement, and the person that did come to court did indicate that they were not aware of those circumstances and that they would investigate and actually sort it out. But till today, Ncube is still complaining about the very same thing, and Mnisi brings it to the attention of the court also that it was said that Kininda had said that Ncube is a security risk for some reason, and Mnisi doesn't understand why Kininda has such an influence at the correctional service, because he's a member of the SAPS, which is a very, very, very good question, and is very concerning as well, that these people are now sort of intimidating the accused in this case and making sure that they are oppressed in some way, even though they have not been found guilty of the charges in this case. Whilst Mnisi is addressing this issue with regards to Ncube, he then says, I know the court will say they cannot interfere, but that is not true. And then he quotes a section 173, where he says, no, the court needs to do something about this, because then it infringes the rights of the accused. This is not a fair trial. If this person has been kept in solitary confinement, it affects him psychologically, and he's unable to focus, I'm unable to consult, and it makes it difficult for me to be able to represent him accordingly in court. When Mnisi was done addressing the court, Baloyi does then stand and confirms that Kininda did say that this is the situation, and he also says that Ncube's application to be removed from solitary confinement was disapproved. And Ncube then says, then where is a letter? The judge also asks Baloyi, where's the letter? And there's no letter of that disapproval. So there's no proof that it has been disapproved, but he's still sitting there in solitary confinement and nothing has been done about it. The judge then makes a suggestion that he will bring someone who is the head of prisons, I think, that will come through and they'll be able to state their case to him, and he'll be able to determine whether Ncube has been kept in those conditions which are inhuman, and they'll be able to take it from there. But this will be something that they will sort out on the 7th of October when the recess is over. Mngomezulu then commences his cross-examination with NTINI, and the first thing he attacks is the fact that the vehicle that he's now bringing evidence about, being the 0001 and the 0002 that has been causing so much havoc over the past 2 days, is literally a document that has nothing to do with NTINI. Firstly, the vehicle was registered to Mangena, The person who signed in the logbook is Mangena. The person who has information about when the car moved, when the car did this, when the car did this is Mangena. And NTINI clearly cannot answer any of those questions. So Mngomezulu, just by asking those questions in the beginning with regards to who was the car booked to, who was the driver of the car, whose signature is on that logbook, and the witness says it is Mangena, then Mngomezulu then says, I will ask for this information to be expunged because you're not the relevant person to be bringing this information here, because when I start asking you questions with regards to this vehicle, you will not be able to answer. And you are aware that Mangena has already come to court to testify. If they needed this information to be on the record, they would have let it through Mangena. Now, there's something very interesting about Mngomezulu's cross-examination that I picked up. Firstly, he talks a lot about the 13th of November and the gun that was tested on the 13th of November, which we all now know was Chico Twala's 9mm gun. Now, Mangena had testified that this gun was tested by himself on the 13th of November in 2014, and he said that the results were negative, according to him. We don't know who the verifier of those results are. And what Mngomezulu has been doing with the witnesses that have come to court, specifically the ones from ballistics, is eliminate each and every verifier, because when Sereo came, he asked Sereo about the 14th of November. Sereo says he never verified anything on the 14th of November. Hrobla came, Mngomezulu asked the same question to Hrobla. She never verified Mangena's results on the 14th of November in 2014. The 13th of November in 2014. Now NTINI has come and he also denies verifying the results on the 13th of November in 2014. So it leaves Fissa, who is still not being called to the court, but now it's a thing of who verified Mangena's negative results on Chico's gun. We would love to know. Now, NTINI has been one of the most useless witnesses in this court because he remembers jack shit. He remembers nothing. He can't recall anything. Everything I can't recall. Everything I can't recall. Mngomezulu even said to him, can you see the dangers of not recording things when you're working at work? Because now you can't remember anything. And when the state objects, Mngomezulu then throws a bit of salt into the wound by saying, we're dealing with the reliability of this witness. And this witness, the court cannot rely on him because he brings nothing of sound mind to this court. And it's valid. His views are valid. He has brought absolutely nothing to the court. Nothing. State also objects to the fact that Mngomezulu says that the witness brings nothing of sound mind to the court, and Mngomezulu then says to Sibanda, and sometimes you just object with no substance. There's no substance to your objection. And I was like, I'm scared. Once Mngomezulu completed his cross-examination, Ramusipili took over, and as I said, I am thoroughly impressed with Ramusipili over the past couple of witnesses that we've cross-examined. He's been doing extremely well. Some of the things that he touched on his cross-examination are with regards to the manufacturers of the bullets, and also he then questions the witness of his position during the time that he went to the scene of crime with Mangena. The witness then says that he was a warrant officer at the time, and when Ramusipili hears this, he then says, being a warrant officer, you need to account for all your movements. Is that correct? And he says, yes, that's right. And Ramusipili touches on the issues of the pocketbook, and the guy then says, no, I didn't use a pocketbook at the time. I was using a diary. So Ramusipili says, good, perfect, you're using a diary. Where is your diary to be able to tell you the events of that day? Because it seems that you cannot remember. You're foggy. Your mind is foggy. You don't remember anything. And he says, oh, well, I don't write everything in my diary. And Ramusipili says, I've noted this tendency of all the police either losing their diaries, losing their pocketbooks. The pocketbooks grow legs and they disappear, or all those. It's a tendency of the police and it's unacceptable. And then He then asked the witness with regards to Mangena taking an exhibit from the crime scene. Now, there is a witness of the state that has a statement that says, whilst they were at the crime scene on the 27th, the morning of the 27th, Mangena was seen taking an exhibit from the door frame. When Ramsipili asked the witness about that, the witness says he didn't see Mangena. And because this witness kept saying he was just an assistant on the day, he would help with measurements and he would do this and he'd do this, Ramsipili then throws a little shade to the witness when he says, well, maybe you didn't see Mangena taking an exhibit from the door because you were busy running around looking for tapes, or you went to the car to get the tape. And I was like, Ramsipili, you're spicy. Before Ramsipili concludes his cross-examination, he then says, you tested this gun, you tested the exhibit and the test that Mangena gave you, and right now, because you didn't note anything down, because you didn't have a diary, because you didn't do a report, we're unable to tell what marks you saw in order for you to give a positive verification. However, we do have Dave that would have been of assistance to check your work, as he's already done with Mangena's work and Sereyo's work, and he concludes that the result is inconclusive. And then Ramsipili touches on the fact that it is possible for experts to have different opinions when it comes to the test, and the witness does confirm this. And then he says that Dave does differ from what Mangena and Sereyo and yourself, because you're also saying that you got a positive, are saying. And he had the opportunity to actually take the exhibits to his lab and work on them, and he still got inconclusive. The witness then says he does not have any comment to that. Another interesting thing that Ramosipile touches on is the fact that this witness, NTINI, was involved at the crime scene on the night of the incident, or the morning after the incident. He was involved in the post-mortem 2 days after the incident. And then finally, he's now involved in the confirming of the bullet that was allegedly tested and confirmed positive by Mangena. So Ramosipile says this must have been a full circle moment for you during this time. And the witness is like, no, I don't understand what you say. And Ramosipile is like, no, it's English. Spicy. Ramsipili then completes his cross-examination, and Mnisi then points out that he'd rather start after the recess because he doesn't want to start cross-examining this witness now and then have this long break in between and continue when we come back from recess. So the court is going on recess from this week up until the 7th of October. So Mnisi will continue with his cross-examination on the 7th of October. Now, the interesting thing about the last moments of this day on Friday is the fact that the judge then makes a comment about Rulof's test. And he says, you keep talking about Rulof's test. Everybody keeps talking about Rulof's test. Has the state actually verified this information? Yeah, Rulosa. And the state then says, no, Rulosa has come to testify before the court. And now the judge starts to mention something about 5 positive that Rulosa found. And I'm saying the judge likes saying that he listens, but does he actually listen? I don't think so, because now he's muddling up exhibits from another case with the exhibits from the Senzo Meyiwa case. Firstly, Rulofsa, when accused number 3 was arrested, Rulofsa tested the gun and he shot 2 shots. He's never shot any shots after that. He has never done any test after that. The only thing he did after that is that he received cartridges from a crime scene in the Alexander case, and he compared the cartridges to the test shots that he had fired. Now the judge is saying, no, Rulofsa shot 5 tests. Njani, because it was never done by Rulofsa. Those cartridges were found at a crime scene that Rulofsa took and compared to the gun that he had, and he found a match. Never did he test 5 times. Judge Rata, you need to listen. You don't know everything. You aren't right in everything, and you actually do not listen. You need to listen. Anyway, those are the proceedings for the week. We're going to have a long break. I hope that you guys do enjoy the long break, and I will see you during the course of the next couple of weeks. I will be starting a mini series on the Senzo Meyiwa case. Just basically talking about the people involved in this case, and I'm thinking of starting Ngaye Urata. a little mini series now. So do stay tuned for that. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.